So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. It's already the 17th of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, we are good health. Inshallah, continuing with the studies of Surah Al-ahqaf. We start off with our intentions for seeking knowledge and teaching. I intend to seek knowledge and to teach, to benefit myself and to benefit others, to remind myself and to remind others, to profit myself and to profit others, to urge adherence to the book of Allah and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to invite to guidance and to guide to that which is good, seeking the face of Allah, His pleasure, His closeness, His reward, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's continue on with the Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم نور بالقرآن بصري واشرح به صدري وأطلق به لساني واستعمل به بدني وقوي به جناني وأسرع به فهمي بحولك وقوتك فإنه لا حول ولا قوة إلا بك يا أرحم الراحمين. والصلاة على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين بفضل سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. At Surah Al-ahqaf. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Last lesson we did 12 to 14. Before this was book of Musa. That means before the Quran. And there is a book, Allah sent down book of Musa. And the book is a guide and a mercy. This book confirms in the Arabic language to warn the unjust and as good news for the excellent ones. So the book confirms in the Arabic language. So that means it confirms whatever is being said in the Taurat. But it is in the Arabic language, and its aim of the book is to warn those who have done injustices to themselves and their souls, and also as good news for the excellent ones. So it is describing those who excel, who have great taqwa and patience, right, in their lives. Surely those who say, our Rabb is Allah, persevere in uprightness, they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. These are the abiding dwellers of the garden, a reward for what they did. So Allah tells us about these people who acknowledge that Allah is Rabb, and they persevere in this path of Allah, of attesting to the fact that Allah is Rabb. And because of that, they shall have no fear. We did discuss about this no fear and no grief, differences of opinions, right? No fear of the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no fear on the day of judgment, and no grief over what we have done in the past. And also it refers to very general, no fear whatsoever, right? That means there will not be a continuous, a permanent state of fear. They might have fears here and there, but they manage to overcome those fears. These are the abiding dwellers of the garden, a reward for what they did. So that is what it is. All right, we did this verse already. We went through the meanings and also the first part of it. We'll just read through and then we will continue with the explanation of this verse. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ كُرْهًا وَوَضَعَتْهُ كُرْهًا وحمله وفصاله 30 شهرا حتى إذا بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة قال ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. And we have enjoined on man doing of good to his parents, with trouble that his mother bare him, and with trouble that she bring him forth. And the bearing of him and the winning of him was 30 months, until when he attains his maturity and reaches 40 years, he says, My Rabb, grant me that I may give thanks for your favor, which you have bestowed on me and on my parents, and that I may do good with which pleases you, and do good to me in respect of my offsprings. Surely I turn to you, and surely I am of those who submit. All right, so that's the first part we did about being good to parents. So we'll just look at some narrations on being good to parents. So the first part was an instruction, a command from Allah that we should be good to our parents. The commander of the faithful, Imam Ali radiallahu anhu, said, the most significant divine obligation is to do good to one's parents. So this is really, really important and really, really critical, right? It is one of the main obligation, most important obligation, that is to be good to one's parents. Rasulullah SAW said, any good doing child who looks at his parents out of kindness is granted the divine reward of pilgrimage to Kaaba for each and every look. That means you are a good child and you look at your parents with great compassion, great kindness, great care, then you will be rewarded Kaaba for each and every look. He was asked concerning a child who looks kindly at his parents 100 times a day. And he replied, Allah is the greatest and the most pure. That means you have no worries about that. And Allah will give lots and lots of the reward. There is no limit to the amount of reward you can get. So you get 100 times reward of going for pilgrimage. Rasulullah SAW said, a slave who is obedient to his parents, and Allah shall dwell on the highest place in paradise. That is how important it is to be obedient to parents and Allah. But then again, obedient here, there are times that we are allowed not to be obedient to our parents when they ask us to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is mentioned clearly in the Quran. But whatever the case is, if you have to disobey them, then do it in a kind manner, explain to them, try to rationalize with them and try to tell them that you are going against, not because of anything, but because of your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah SAW said, one who obtains the satisfaction of his parents has gained the satisfaction of Allah, and one who angers his parents angers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hope we pray all. Some of us have got no more parents, right? But we still continue to do good to our parents by sending Fatiha, by doing zakat on their behalf, by reading Quran on their behalf. These are ways in which we can still benefit our parents, those who have passed on. Because Rasulullah SAW has told us that three things benefit people after they have passed on. One of them is a righteous child who dua for them, inshallah. Rasulullah SAW said, one who wishes to have his life prolonged and his daily sustenance increase should do good to his parents and provide for his blood relatives. So two things, right? You want to have a long life. Long life here actually means a life which is beneficial, a life that is lived with obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And daily sustenance increase then we should be good to parents and also to our blood relatives, our cousins, our uncles, aunties, and family siblings also, and provide for them when they are not able to. All right, next verse, next part of the verse is the second part of the verse, right? It is hamalat. Allah explained. Hamalat who? So hamalat, you can see is female, the ta there tells us who ummuhu, so that refers to the action here, the fi'al here, hamalat, which is a fi'al madi, refers to the The ummu is rafa, who is his. So carried him, his mother, kurhan, in difficulty. This one is and delivered him with difficulty. So Allah highlights two very important sacrifice of mothers. All of you have children before or given birth before, have been pregnant before, you know how difficult it is. So Allah highlights this too. Owing to the hardship of pregnancy, delivering and suckling, mothers enjoy a special privilege and deserve further kindness. Now, some children, especially those children who are given up for adoption, they sometimes claim that their parents did not look after them, so they do not need to be kind to their parents, especially after they found out about their adoption. But here Allah identified two important things which you cannot deny your mother has done, and that is being pregnant, carrying you. That is, and being pregnant is not easy for some women. Some women had it very difficult. They have to they have nausea, they've got morning sicknesses right through 9 months, and the carrying is sometimes they have pains here and pains there, sleeping difficult sleeping and things like that. So it is that Allah is looking at and reminding you of the sacrifices of your mother. And also giving birth is just not easy. Everybody who has given birth know how painful it is to give birth. Even Maryam, Siti Maryam, alaiha salam, she herself hoped that she would die because it was just so painful, and she was just alone. She was saying, if only I have died before this, that means the pain is just so unbearable. So this is two things which you cannot deny your mother did, even though you might claim she doesn't look after you, she neglect you, whatever. So Allah just identified two very difficult things in that a mother has gone through. First, to be pregnant in itself, and the other one to deliver, right? In this event, motherly love for a child is one of the wonders of the world and one of the secrets of creation. So Allah bless her with great love for her child. Despite the pain that she goes through, she bore with it because she wanted a child. And the pregnancy, she goes one trouble after another, one pain after another, but she cherished the child that is in her. And after giving birth so painfully, she took the child and she's so happy to have her baby. Since despite suffering so many hardships and so much pain, however her child be ugly in form or character, her love never turns into disgust. This is true love, unconditional love of a mother. Child might not be looking as beautiful as you are, or does it have some defect, or has a special child, but the mother will care for the child no matter what. Right? And the mother, it's not right to say they're ugly. Some not as good, not good looking, right? Some defects sometimes, but then they grow up, they might not have good character, but still the mother loves is always there. She will not hate her child. She might be upset with the child for his bad behavior and things like that, but love will always still be there. She bears the child for a period of 9 months, and the delivery is very painful. And Allah says, وَحَمْلُهُ وَفِصَالُهُ ثَلَاثُونَ شَهْرًا. And hamluhu, and his carrying him, that means during pregnancy, and his weaning, fisaluhu, weaning, ثَلَاثُونَ شَهْرًا, 30 months. 30 months covers both carrying him and weaning him. This refers to the sacrifices which every mother necessarily makes for her children. Most mothers would actually feed their children. Talking about the pregnancy again, carrying the child again, and feeding the child that is 30 months. Of course, not all mothers does this. Not everyone is able to give milk to the children, and that Allah knows. Yeah, but they have other sacrifices, and night sacrifices, being awake at night because the child is usually don't want to sleep at night, right? Going through all the various difficulties, and sometimes the child is sick, and working for not having good sleep because of looking after the child, and all this are there. But this is Allah highlights two things: the caring of the child and the weaning off of the child is 30 months. So we should wean off. So it's together, we will look at it. In Arabic, this sounds akin to a great sigh made by someone bearing a heavy burden and breathing with difficulty. But it means that the language is so profound, the way the statement is made, right? وَحَمْلُهُ وَفِصَالُهُ ثَلَاثُونَ شَهْرًا. It sounds difficult, right? In the Arabic language, it's a sigh of the kind of trouble the mother goes through. It does reflect the latter stages of pregnancy as also of labor and birth. Into our pregnancy is birth, painful labor, then giving birth, and then suckling the child. The purpose of this reference is to direct attention to the fact that whatever may the children do, they can never repay the favors of their parents. Especially here, the mother who breastfed the child for 30 months. A mother carries a child for months in the womb and then delivers it while risking her own life. In the older days, what they call it, many women actually die from giving birth because of the difficulty that they have to go through, and then not enough medical resources at that time. After that comes the time of suckling the child. For 2 whole years, she feeds the child with the milk with great effort and raises and nurtures it. So 2 years is the time she gave milk to the children, right? She cared for them, she looked after them, the pain that it's not easy giving milk, also the troubles that they have to go through, the hardships that they have to go through sometimes, pain in giving milk and things like that. Thus, no one can match her effort. In addition, she bears so many hardships with such happiness, joy. Allah bless her with great joy in looking after her children, despite the struggles she has to go through. So how great an expression of ingratitude will it be from the children if they forget these favors, and when the parents need these from the children, they show indifference, right? So sad thing that children eventually find it difficult to look after their parents and not interested to look after their parents, right? Of course, there are parents who are very difficult to look after, but we take it as a trial in our life, right? And a means to bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we practice perseverance, practice to hold ourselves, hold our tongue, because we are dealing with our parents, and we should not in any way make them unhappy. Here, an important point worthy of note is that the demand for showing kindness relates both to the mother and father. However, the 3 sacrifices mentioned only relate to the mother. No sacrifice of the father is mentioned. So what are the 3 sacrifices of the mother? Carrying the baby, giving birth, and giving milk. This could be because of the following reasons. The extent of a role mother plays in the initial upbringing of the child is much more than of a father. Thus, it is mentioned in a narrative that Rasulullah has regarded a mother's right to be thrice that of a father vis-a-vis serving her. This narrative is based on these very verses. The mother belongs to the weaker gender. This aspect necessitates that the children obey. This narrative, that means there is a hadith in which Rasulullah has said, right, the rights of a mother is 3 times the rights of a father. And it's because of these sacrifices the mother had to make, right, in bringing the child to earth, on earth. So it's based on this very verse. So this is the verse, right? The mother belongs to, so Two things. These are the reasons why mothers are given special treatment here. First is that they play a role in bringing the child more than the father, because the father is always out working. Then the mother belongs to the weaker gender, so the people should care for their mother more than they care for their father. This aspect necessitates that they shouldn't obey and suffer more than the father. And mothers do get very sensitive in their old age, especially when children say words which are not very palatable to hear. They're not very pleasant to hear. Not palatable is taste. All right. And the mother is weaker than the father. So a father primarily relates the financial interest of the children, since they are to inherit wealth and property from him. There is a lesser fear of the children disobeying him. So it's another third opinion is that the children most children do not disobey their parents, because the father, because of the father being in charge of the finances. And they hope to get wealth and property from him. On the other hand, in general circumstances, this is not the case with a mother, and for this reason, those people who do not duly value her are the ones who do not have the correct awareness of the sacrifices made. It seems that in the Arab world, the mothers do not have much, are not given as much regard as the father. The father is the strong one. The father is the one who supports the family. And so the verses highlights the sacrifices of the mother. And also has highlight, right, the need to understand what she's doing. We need to know the sacrifice that she has done. Now, the child is born, it needs to be breastfed and taken much care of. But by her milk, the mother gives off her own constitution. And as she takes care of her child, she gives much of her heart and feelings. All right, so the mother's milk, right, nutrients from the milk allows the child to grow. And she really care for the child. From baby, she really look after the child. She gives much of her heart and feelings, love for the child. And in giving all of these, she is nothing less than delighted. So she's happy to sacrifice for her children. She's never fed up with the trouble her child gives her. The best reward she aspires is to see her child grow in good health. She always strives her best to make sure they are in good health. One of the Prophet's companions was carrying his mother as they did the tawaf. So he carried his mother and he did tawaf. He asked the Prophet, have I discharged my duty to her? The Prophet said, no one will. No one, not even for one sigh she made. The Prophet says, you can never repay your mother, not even for one sigh that she made. From among the young people of society, those who believe in and benefit from the guidance of the Quran become the ones who try their best to fulfill their obligations and responsibilities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they treat their parents in the most excellent manner that is humanly possible. So these are the people who understands the importance of a mother, that a mother all right. Sorry. Thus, the Quran always commands excellence to both parents, but mentions only the sacrifices made by the mother. The main reason is that fathers were already well respected and well treated in the Arabian tribal society. Fathers had full authority over life and death of their children, without anyone ever holding them accountable for the decisions about their children. This is talking about the custom of the Quraysh in killing the girls, all right, killing them alive. And that is the decision of the father. And it's not accountable, so he's got a lot of power. Good children were considered to be those who would do everything in their power to enhance and protect the honor of their father. So there was a custom at that time, right? They are expected to honor and protect their fathers. Mothers, though respected, did not enjoy that kind of status, mentioning their troubles and sacrifices for their children underscores that they deserve more respect, honor, and service than the fathers. So it's very important for the reasons why given for respect for the mother. They deserve more respect, honor, and service than fathers. In other case, it should be remembered that obedience to parents' bidding is conditional upon its alignment with Islamic teachings, while being nice to them is unconditional. One must be nice to them in all circumstances, and this is something that cannot be omitted from one's day-to-day routine. If any of his or her parents are alive, this verse tells us that the children should serve both the mother and father. The mother's right is greater importance on the grounds that she undergoes greater hardship for the sake of the children. The same is borne out by a hadith which has been related with a little variation in wording in Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, Musnad Ahmad, and in Adab al-Mufrad of Imam Bukhari, to the effect that a person asked Rasulullah SAW, who has a greater right to my service? Rasulullah replied, your mother. He asked who after that? He replied, your mother. He asked who after that? He replied, your mother. He asked who after her? He replied, your father. This hadith precisely explains this verse, for it is also allusion has been made to the triple right of the mother. His mother bore him with hardship, she gave him birth with hardship, and his bearing and his weaning took 13 months. So I reminded why the mother is given a higher status than the father. Another legal point also derived from this verse and verse 14 of Surah Luqman and verse 233 of Al-Baqarah, which was pointed out by Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu and Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu in a law case. And made Hazrat Osman change his decision. So this very verse, right, helps in giving rulings in Islam. The story goes that during the caliphate of Hazrat Osman radiallahu anhu, a person married a woman from the Juhayna tribe, and just 6 months after the marriage, she gave birth to a healthy and sound child. The man took the case before Hazrat Osman, who declared that the woman to be an adulteress and ordered that she would be stoned to death. So this is 6 months and you give birth to a very healthy child. Well, chances of you conceiving before the 6 months is very high. Well, this is where they are coming from. So if you have conceived before marriage, that means you are a fornicator, an adulteress. On hearing this, Ali radiallahu anhu immediately came to Uthman and asked, whatsoever decision have you given? He replied, she has given birth to a sound child 6 months after marriage. Is it not clear a proof of her being an adulteress? So he's saying that this is enough proof that she is an adulteress. Ali radiallahu anhu did not agree and recited the 3 above mentioned verses in their sequence. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah says, the mothers shall suckle their children for 2 whole years, and the fathers desire the suckling to be completed. In Surah Luqman, it is said, and his weaning took 2 years. In Surah Al-Ahqaf, and his bearing and his weaning took 2 years. 13 months. Now, if 2 years of suckling are taken away from 30 months, you have 6 months of bearing remain. This shows that the minimum period of pregnancy in which a sound child can be born is 6 months. So he explains that about the chances. Therefore, the woman who has given birth to a child 6 months after the marriage cannot be declared an adulteress. Hearing this, on hearing this reasoning, Ali radiallahu anhu said, and Usman admitted that he has not considered that thing at all. So we see these are great Sahabas of Rasulullah, and they make mistakes and they agree, accept the mistake that they have made. And they caught the woman and changed his decision. According to another tradition, Ibn Abbas also supported the reasoning of Hazrat Ali, and then Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu changed his decision. The following legal junctions are derived from the 3 verses when they are read together. The woman who gives birth to a son and complete child in less than 6 months after marriage will be declared an adulteress. Less than 6 months, adulteress. But after that, and the child's lineage from her husband will not be established. The woman who delivers a son and complete child 6 months or more after marriage cannot be accused of adultery only on the basis of the childbirth, nor can her husband have the right to slander her. No, he refused to acknowledge fatherhood of the child, so he can't. The child will certainly be recognized as his, and the woman will not be punished. The maximum period for fosterage is 2 years. Fosterage here refers to giving milk to the child, and you must stop after 2 years. It's not allowed for you to actually give milk after 2 years, because the milk is actually no more. Allah has reduced the milk production, and so the child will end up drinking blood, which is very bad for the child. If a woman has suckled a child for after this age, she will not be regarded as his foster mother, nor will the injunctions pertaining to fosterage be applicable to her. Now, this is about some strange people out there who don't seem to understand things, just maybe trying to be funny, right? They say if a man suckles milk from a woman, right, then we are related in fosterage. No such things, right? If a woman is, see, even if a child, a woman, the woman has suckled a child for this age, she will not be regarded as his foster. It means when it's adult, after 2 years old, you try to give milk to a child, right? Then you are not considered as foster mother. That means foster mother has rights of a mother, and the siblings also are considered as, her children are considered as the foster child siblings. In this regard, Imam Abu Hanifa has, out of caution, proposed the period of 2.5 years instead of 2 years, that there remains no chance of error in a delicate matter like the prohibition of the foster relations. All right, so he has increased it to 2.5 years. Hatta idha balagha ashuddahu, until when reaches, right, reaches a certain extreme age. I mean, a certain age, means not old. So when the person recognizes the rights of his parents, reaches the age of maturity, this upright nature of his also necessarily awakens in him the true comprehension of the wrong. The reflection of the love and effort shown by his parents in a diligence to raising him, this is a glimpse of the love and affection and providence of the real creator, and from here he be able to assess the path and lead him to his real world, who bless him with affectionate parents for his upbringing. So here, the care and love of the parents on the child, right, gives us a feeling of the love and care of Allah on us. So from here, we'll be able to assess the path that leads him to the real Rabb, who blesses him with affectionate parents for his upbringing. As the awareness of a right induces him to fulfill a greater right. So the right that he is aware of is the right of caring them after the parents, right, who have sacrificed. That gives him the understanding that he has to also give Allah his due right. In the sensitivity of fulfilling the rights of the parents is not found in a person, then he cannot be aware of fulfilling the rights of Allah. So if he doesn't have that sensitivity in him to if the parents are due right, then he has no rights with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the rights of parents which are the signposts that take him to this destination. A person who did not open this door will find the next path close to him. When such an upright person reaches maturity, in particular the age of 40, arba'in, and he reaches arba'in sana, he reaches 40. 40 years is considered as full maturity. However, the real factor to attain this maturity is not merely age. In fact, factors such as environment, education, and moral training, which as others also have a great role to play. Hence, this age of maturity is not the same in all people. So although Allah puts it at 40, 40 is at the time that people should be matured by 40, but there are those who are very matured and very wise, right? And at a very much earlier age. All right. As there exists a difference of opinion in this issue between our scholars, and there are very understandable reasons for this. And the Almighty has placed great variation in it, keeping in view of our weaknesses. And 40 years mentioned here is the last limit of this age. That means at 40, you should be mature, right? No matter what it is. Thus, once a person becomes a young adult, this awareness should be awakened in every upright person. If in someone, because of some adverse factors, it is not awakened or is not fully awakened, then it must appear by the age of 40. Of course, we have not everybody, we have special kids and such, where they cannot attain much maturities because of their IQ and their intellectual capacity also. If after attaining even this age, it does not appear, that it means that that person has perverted his nature. That means he cannot, at 40, he still doesn't understand life and what is really important in life. Then he has along the way, right, in the years, his previous, as he has destroyed his capacity, right, to understand the reality of maturity, or to be mature. It is evident from this that the gracious and merciful Allah will treat us leniently till the age of 40, keeping in view our various weaknesses. So 40 is where maturity is established, and after 40, Allah does not give much excuse to people who disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason obviously is that because till this age, there is a great influence of emotions and desires on a person. So until 40, people are affected by influences of emotions and also the desires. They are influenced greatly by emotions and desires. Even if he tries to manage his ways, he at times loses his way by being overwhelmed by these emotions and desires. After the age of 40, these emotions lose force. If he does not stimulate them wrongly, he can control and discipline them. For this reason, he should not expect any further lenience after this age. So some people have said 40 at 40, you've got no hope if you are bad. Still some say 60. But 40 is a moment where you would know the right from the wrong. Be aware. Should bear in mind that what is said here is said while keeping in mind the general circumstances and general types of human nature. So there are, of course, there are exception to this, where they are brought up in very, very bad environment. It is not still by keeping in view a pure Islamic society and environment. It is a society afflicted. In a society afflicted with evil, there are many adverse factors which hinder a person's resolve. For this reason, the Almighty treats such people with special lenience who try to perform themselves in such a society. All right, so that's why it is Allah is caring, Allah is lenient to those who are under 40 and allow them to reform themselves in society. In an Islamic society, these adverse factors do not exist. For this reason, people will raise more vigorous standards of accountability. All right, so if it's true Islamic society, then these adverse factors do not exist. And for this reason, is people will face more rigorous standards of accountability, because when you are brought up in an environment which is a very negative environment, parents are not able to help you through your life, and you are always, you feel lots of fear and everything. In that environment, you are much more excused. And if at 40 you do not attain maturity, but for people who have got good parents, and does things well, then and they don't want to pray, right? They will have accountability. They will be charged much more vigorously. And he says once he reached 40, is very strong. He says, he said, Rabbi, Auzi'ni, push me. an ashkura, that I give thanks, ni'mataka, for your favors, allati, that an'amta, that you favored me, an'amta alayya, favored me, wa ala, and our parents. So this is a dua. Auzikni means get hold of me, take control of me. That means let me. I mean, you don't allow me to just stray and not be able to give thanks to you. Because when you stray, you do not see what Allah has given, and you will not be able to be appreciative of what Allah has given. The meaning is, Rab, till now I have been carried away by my emotions. Please now give me the urge that instead of being carried away by the frenzy of my emotions, I'm able to express gratitude to your innumerable favors you have done to me and my parents. Okay? This feeling of gratitude is the foundation of all aspects of meditation. Quran describes the thoughts and feelings of a person with sound nature as he stands at the end of one half of life, in the beginning of another half, with an almost apparent end. And so this is his understanding that the most important thing in life is to be grateful to Allah, to acknowledge the many favors that Allah has given us, and also his parents, to be grateful, right, for the favors, right, that Allah has blessed his parents. He therefore turns to Allah with this prayer, Rabbi awzi'ni an ashkura ni'mataka allati an'amta alayya wa ala walidaya. My Rabb, push me, hold me, as mentioned, urge me on, that I give thanks to the favors that you have favored me and on my parents. And the favors that you have favored me and on my parents. So these favors, it refers to the favors that Allah has given to his parents, and he thanks Allah for the favors that Allah has blessed his parents. It is a prayer from a heart that appreciates the great grace Allah has bestowed on him, feeling that it is far more than he deserves. He recognizes that such grace was also bestowed in abundance on his parents. He feels that all his great efforts are insufficient expression of gratitude for such grace. So that is why he needs to be always in a state of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not allow his emotions to get the better of him, where he becomes upset with lots of things around him. He learns to look, yes, there are things as you grow older, definitely you will have pains here and there. I mean, you actually, your prowess actually decline after 33 years old, right? Maybe you get stiff pains and necks and whatever. But those are there, but the favors are still there, and it's just innumerable. And you should keep on thanking Allah. Never look at the bad in your life. Always know that there's lots of good still from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, he prays that Allah will enable him to perform his duty of thanksgiving and not allow his efforts to be wasted on distractions. That means thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After 40, you would want your life to be meaningful, right? To be a life where you would be dedicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You would want to increase in your observances of the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You want to increase in your salat, because as Rasulullah sallallahu has said, we recall the night where Rasulullah sallallahu stood in prayer for a few hours, standing and reciting Al-Baqarah, Al-Nisa, Al-Imran, right? And then his ruku was as long as his qiyam, and his sujud was so long also, and until his legs were swollen. And Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha asked him, Ya Rasulullah, your sins are forgiven, you are promised heaven, you are promised good. Why do you do all these things? Why do you put yourself through such great hardships, difficulties, right? Then his answer was, do I not want to be a grateful slave of Allah? That is great gratitude to Allah. Doing more and more, reading more of the Quran, learning more of the books of Allah. You have been after 40, normally you have made it, hard work, right? You earn your lots of money, go and give sadaqah. Think about being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. Wa an a'mala salihan, and that, so awzidni, right, hold me, that's so it is continuation, and that I a'mala, an is a huruf nasab, so a'mala is in its nasab, is in its nasab state, and I do amal salih, right? So you hold me so that I will be able to do lots of amals. This is what is maturity is all about. Knowing who Allah is, knowing what is important in your life, it is to be as close to Allah as possible, to be grateful to Allah, and to act on all that Allah has do, and that you do amal salih. Amal salih are actions that are taught by Rasulullah SAW and done sincerely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you understand that and you want to do as much amal salih as possible. So the word suggests that feelings of gratitude necessarily motivate a person to pious deeds, and pious deeds are deeds in which a person seeks the pleasure of Allah instead of going after his own whims and desires. See, that's not 40, you shouldn't be going after designer clothes, going after all kinds of gadgets that make you look beautiful and pretty, and spending hours to make up and things like that. There are other much more higher ideals in life that you should be running for, right? That is in seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in doing lots of amal salih. Taradahu, that you are pleased with it. So I want the amal salih, not only amal salih, and I need you to be happy with me. I need you to be pleased with whatever I am doing. So what he wishes for is to be able to do some work that is so good as to meet with Allah's pleasure and acceptance. His utmost aim is to earn his Rabb's acceptance, for it is in him that he places all his hopes. He says, finish half of his life, he has another half. Not only be able to live until 80 plus. Singapore, I think for the ladies, their life expectancy is 89 years. For men, is 87. At times, there is a misconception which a person comes across in this way. He does something in his own estimation to please Allah, but instead of pleasing him, it angers him. So sometimes you make mistakes and you think it's good that you do all these things to seek Allah's pleasure, but actually it's not. So for example, these which are virtuous outwardly but are incriminated with polytheism and innovations, and these which seems to be good but actually are not good in the eyes of the teachings of Rasulullah SAW, and might be has an element of polytheism, not direct polytheism where you have gods other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but that you succumb to your desires, which is not in line with the teachings of Rasulullah SAW, and you succumb to the insinuations of the devil again, and you don't realize it as mentioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, that the devil will beautify your acts for you so much so that you think it's good, and Allah is happy with you for doing such things. For this reason, a person should continue to also pray to Allah to guide him to those virtuous deeds which pleases Allah. That's why he says, "An a'mala salihan tardahu," and that I continue to is present future tense. A'mala is present future. So I keep on doing good deeds that is of a quality of salih. Salih means it reforms me all the time, changes me along the way, and you are pleased with me. Aslih li fi dhurriyati, and make good for me. That means aslih, reform for me in my descendants. That I want my descendants also to be of those people who are good people. Also, he prays for his progeny that Allah blesses him with noble descendants from among them, so that he not only feels proud in this world, but in the next also their pious deeds are able to intercede for him. That means when he has passed on, his zuriyat, right, who would continue doing the amal saleh, because Allah, he wants, I have asked Allah to correct them, to reform them, so they would do amal saleh, and with their amal saleh, he gets the reward also in the next world. As mentioned before, right, a righteous child gives rewards. This prayer issues from a believer's heart who hopes that his good work will continue with the children and their children and so. He would love to be sure that his offspring will continue to worship Allah alone and seek his pleasure. That is why he makes his known, wa aslih li fi dhurriyati. Such goodly descendants are more precious to a believer than the greatest of material treasures. And so that is what he wants. He's not asking Allah to make his children rich, powerful. No, he's asking Allah to make sure to help them to have great amal salih. Such a prayer expresses a hope that children takes over from parents in obeying Allah across many generations. Inni tubtu ilaika, surely I turn to you. Inni tubtu ilaika, I turn to you. That means at times I might stray, but now I wish to be always on your path. I turn back to you, Ya Allah. Inni tubtu ilaika, to you. The verse express his pious declaration regarding the future. He has turned to Allah, right? It means you have realized that I am not, I've done wrong, and so I'm coming back to the path as mentioned. I think the last lesson that Rasulullah mentioned about the straight path, right? And we can come out of the path, so we come back to the path when we realize that we have made a mistake in not being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we leave the path of Allah, we are being ungrateful to Allah, and we have followed the insinuations of our desires or the devil, or being attempted by the world. Wa inni minal muslimin, and surely I of those who submit. A Muslim is one who submits to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With wisdom, we submit to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, he declares himself as one who submits to him at all times. Muslimin, right, as you can see, Muslimin is an ism. That means I am one who submits. There is no time frame. There is no restrictions in time. At all times, I am one who submits to you. And with all this, remember, it starts off with awzidni. So hold me so that I will always turn to you. Hold me so that I will always be one who submits to you. So here we see a person making a dua, right? Allahumma awzidni an ashkura ni'matakallati. So he is aware that he is not able to do all these things. He is not able to give gratitude. He is not able to do amal saleh. His children will not able to be reformed, and he will not be able to turn to Allah and be a devoted, submitting slave to Allah if Allah does not hold him, right, and prevent him from discretion, from being astray. So you need it, Allah to hold you, right? You need that strength from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need Allah to be there for you. There is a great need for Allah. What he presents in support of his sincere prayer is a request for repentance of any sins and errors, and a statement of his full submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah's will. Inni tubtu ilaika wa inni minal muslimin. Allah's will means whatever Allah has asked us to do, I will submit to whatever it is. Thus, this is the attitude of a good slave of Allah, one equipped with sound and uncorrupted nature. This very dua is also repeated again in the Quran. I think it's exactly, if I'm not wrong, right? When Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, right, is always turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also his father, Nabi Dawud alayhi salam, is described as an awwab, one who's always turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أولئك الذين نتقبل عنهم. أولئك, those, they, so it's emphasized, those, they, nataqabbalu, we accept, anhum, from them. Ahsana, the best, ma amilu, of what they did. So those, they, we accept, nataqabbal from the word qabul. Qabul is to accept. But the taqabbala, this is the tafa'ala structure to emphasize, all right, that is this wish to accept. Na is the we, referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taqabbalu anhum, from them. Ahsana, the best of ma amilu, what they did. Wa natajawazu, right, jawaza here, this is the tafa'ala structure, natajawazu, and we pass over. The jawaz is to pass over. An sayyi'atihim, from their evil. Sayyi'at, so is evil. Sayyi'at, lots of evil. They are evils, because we don't put evils. Fi ashabil jannah, among the companions of the garden. Right? Fi ashabil jannah, among the companions of Jannah. Wa'dan sidqi, the promise of truth. Wa'dan, it's not wa'dan, sorry, wa'da. It's an off structure, and off structure doesn't have a tanwin. So wa'da, sidqi, as-sidqi is in jar state because it is promise of truth. But the of the al can be put to the wa'da, the promise of truth. Alladhi, that, kanu, they were, you adun is passive, being promised. You see u and you see you know it's passive. You adun, they were being promised again and again and again. وَتَتَجَاوَزُوا عَنْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ فِي أَصْحَابِ الْجَنَّةِ مَعْدَ الصِّدْقِ الَّذِي كَانُوا يُوعَدُونَ. These are they from whom we accept the best of what they have done and pass over their evil deeds among the dwellers of garden, the promise of truth which they were promised. So Allah talks, Ulaika alladhina, those are the ones whom we, so this is part the ones who make this dua. As mentioned, this dua entails a lot of emotions, a lot of understanding of the reality of life, because by this time he's already 40 years old. He knows what is required of him as a true slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he exhibits it, he illustrates it by this great dua that we have gone through. Right? So Allah will accept the dua. Allah says, those we accept from them the best of what they do. So they do things, they are muhsinin, who does the best that they can do. So those who desire to be grateful to Allah for his blessings on them and on their parents. They wish to do good deed, that Allah is pleased. They also pray that their offsprings be righteous. They turn back to him and declare their submission to him. These are the ones from whom Allah will accept the best of what they did and overlook their evil deeds. Right here. وَنَتَجَاوَزُ, and we will overlook from them their evil deeds. Fi ashabil jannah, they are people of Jannah. They are companions of Jannah. Right? Their good deeds, well, their excellent ones are accepted. That means they do excellent acts. They are those who strive to do the best that they can in this world. And then they do some mistakes, Allah just overlook their mistakes. Many of the errors will be forgiven and Allah will accept from them a modest amount of deeds. They are among the companions of Jannah. So their errors, he overlooked. And he knows that they didn't do it purposely. Right? In their striving for excellence, they might not achieve excellence and make mistakes along the way. So Allah just overlook, because Allah knows their intentions and their needs, their deeds and their intentions. Their ranks in the hereafter will be determined by the best deeds they would have done in the world, and their lapses and weaknesses and errors will be overlooked. So the best deeds will be the one considered, and they will be admitted to Jannah. This illustrates a generous and appreciative master who determines the worth of his loyal and obedient slave not only by the petty services that he renders, but by some work of merit that he might accomplish, or a feat of devotion and the dedication that he might perform. So here we know that this particular these type, and this is Allah did not say particular one, they are the ones, they are the ones, Allah will consider, will accept of them their dua and consider their great deeds. If Allah accept your great deeds, Allah will also accept the simpler deeds. He will not call his slave to account for his minor shortcomings and overlook his major works. Right? So he will not overlook the major works. The major works are there, the great works are there. So this lesser works are not to be accounted for. I mean, his shortcomings are not accounted. What does sidqi? This form is an emphasized form. Promise, the promise of truth. It's a true and firm promise, and there is no possibility of its violation. What is a promise? Promise is that they will be accepted. Their du'as are accepted. They will be their great deeds will be looked into, will be rewarded for their great deeds. Their wrongs will be overlooked. They are people of Jannah. Alladhi kanu yu'adun, the reward is granted on the basis of the best of one's deeds, while bad ones are overlooked. The destination to which such people go is heaven, where they join its rightful dwellers. All this is in fulfillment of the true promise they were given in this present life. Allah's promise is always fulfilled. Innaka la tukhliful mi'ad. Surely you, Ya Allah, you do not go against your promise. All right, let's recite. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ كُرْهًا وَوَضَعَتْهُ كُرْهًا وَحَمْلُهُ وَفِصَالُهُ 30 شهرا حتى إذا بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة قال ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. أولئك الذين نتقبل عنهم أحسن ما عملوا ونتجاوز عن سيئاتهم في أصحاب الجنة وعد الصدق الذي كانوا يوعدون. All right, we continue on the next verse. وَالَّذِي, and the one, وَالَّذِي is one. Qala, he said, liwalidayhi, to his parents, uffi. Uffi is translated as fine. Lakuma, both of you. To both of you. Lakuma. Uffi lakuma, the lam is to both of you. Uffi lakuma. Ataidanini. A is a question, do. Ta is you. Idan is from the word ada. Some say promise, but it's not. It is actually threatened. Okay. Ataidani. Idan, dal alif, the alif noon refers to two of them, right? Two parents he's talking to. Ni is me. Do you threaten me? And that Raja, I be brought out. Raja, I be brought out is passive, but it's nasab because of the an. Walladhi qala liwalidayhi uffil lakuma ata'idani an Raja. Waqad halat, waqad and surely halat past, right? And surely past al-qurun, the generations, yang qabli, from before me. Wahuma, and both. Yastaghithani, they seek help. Right? They seek help. And both, they seek help. They, referring to two people there. Right? They here, both, and both, they seek help. Wahuma. They seek help. Yastaghithani, so the root word is ghawth. Ghawth is seeking small helps, like pleasant, good help, right? Istar structure and the ya and alif nun, two of them, and they seek help of Allah. So Allah is nasab because He is the one whom they sought help from. Wailaka, woe to you. Wail is curse, ka is you. Wailaka, amin, belief instruction. And this is fi'il amr, amin, belief. Woe to you, belief. وقد خلت القرون من قبلي وهما يستغيثان الله ويلك آمني آمن ويلك آمن Inna wa'dallahi, surely promise of Allah, wa'dallahi haqqun, true. Fayaqulu, then he says, Ma hadha, not this, but illa asatirul awwalin, ancient stories. Not this, but ancient stories. Inna wa'dallahi haqqun fayaqulu ma hadha illa asatirul awwalin. Asatir means ancient, no, stories. Asatir are stories. Things which are written down are called asatir. And he who says to his parents, fie on you, do you threaten me that I shall be brought forth when generations have already passed away before me? And they both call for Allah's aid. Woe to you, believe. Surely the promise of Allah is true, but he says this is nothing but stories of the ancients. All right, so we come to another group of people. Waladina, the one, he said to his parents, Uffi, fine to both of you. So he's very rude to his parents, is another one. The next kind of person is one who is rude to his parents. At times, alladhi is used to cite a parable. It does not necessarily refer to a specific person. In fact, it refers to every person on whom the parable can apply. So he's trying to use explanation of this word walladhi, right? It is referring to one person, right? But it actually refers to every individual person. Thus, in the succeeding verses, it is mentioned in the plural form. So in the next verse, it is now taken to be plural. People who are not aware of this linguistic style of Arabic try at every place to regard as referring to a specific individual. So this is a style of Arabic where they use alladhi, although it refers to one, but actually it refers to every single person with this kind of characteristic. They tread far beyond the real meaning of the verse. As for saying "uff" in this ayah, it is a general description applying to anyone who says it to his parents. Anybody who utters a word of disrespect, utters a word of unpleasantness on their parents. And people claim that it was revealed about Abdul Rahman bin Abi Bakr. This is the son of Abi Bakr. So they are saying it refers to him. But this claim is weak and rejected because Abdul Rahman bin Abi Bakr embraced Islam after this was written. So his adherence to Islam are excellent, and he was among the best of his contemporaries. It's not true. Abdul Rahman, this is referring to a person who is rude to his parents, and it is not true that Abdul Rahman was rude to his parents because he is one of the great sahabas of Rasulullah SAW. Al-Bukhari recorded from Yusuf bin Mahak that Marwan bin Al-Hakam was governor of Hijaz, appointed by Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. These are all the old Muslims. He, Marwan, delivered a speech in which he mentioned Yazid bin Muawiyah and urged the people to give a pledge of allegiance after his father. So here we have a situation. This is in the history of Islam. Muawiyah did not want to give up his governorship when he was told by Sayyidina Ali to give it up. And he claims to be given the charge of half of Syria. And when he came, then he went to he and his group of people from Medina do their Umrah in Rajab. Sorry. This is about Yazid bin Muawiyah. So Yazid, sorry, mistake. So Yazid is the son of Muawiyah, and Muawiyah got hold of the throne, right? There's some agreement between Sayyidina Ali and Muawiyah, but then when Sayyidina Hassan took over from Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, the caliphate, Sayyidina Hassan made Muawiyah promise that he would have a shura to decide who would succeed after him, right? And then Sayyidina Hassan abdicated, but Sayyidina Muawiyah did not, he did agree, but then somehow, this is going to be history, Allah knows best the real situation. He chose his son, Yazid bin Muawiyah, which is not in line with Islam. And in Islamic politics, you're supposed to, the successor must be chosen by a group of wise adults. All right, so this is one of the propaganda to establish Yazid as the next caliph. Abdurrahman bin Abu Bakr said something to him in response to that, which Marwan commanded this man arrest him. So basically, he said something to disagree with what Marwan wants them to do, and that is when Marwan asked his people to arrest him. But he entered Aisha's house, and they were not able to capture him. So Aisha was his sister, Aisha Abu Bakr and Abdurrahman Abu Bakr. Marwan then said, "This is the one to whom Allah revealed, وَالَّذِي قَالَ لِوَالِدَيْهِ أُفٍّ لَكُمَا أَتَعِدَانِ أَنْ أُخْرَجَ وَقَدْ خَالَتِ الْقُرُونُ مِنْ قَبْلِ." Alright, so it says, he refers to Abdurrahman as this rude person, right, to his family members, and then also saying that this afterlife that you are talking about, right, is just a threat. Right? Are you threatening me that I would be raised up, Raju, that I would be raised up, and that and وقد خلت, while most of them have not returned. From behind the curtain, Aisha responded, Allahu anha, Allah did not reveal any Quran in our regard, the children of Abu Bakr, except for the declaration of my innocence. All right, so Aisha rebut him that it's not true. This is not referring to Abdul Rahman, right? And that the only time Allah referred to the son, the children of Abu Bakr, was when she was Allah informed of her innocence during the slender incident. Another report recorded by An-Nasai, Muhammad bin Ziyad reported that when Muawiyah was soliciting people to pledge allegiance to his son, and Marwan declared this follows the tradition of Abu Bakr, which is not true, because after Abu Bakr passed on, right, Abu Bakr's time also there was discussion and people chose Abu Bakr, and with Umar also there was a shura and Umar was chosen. On hearing this, Abdurrahman bin Abu Bakr said, rather, this is the tradition of Heraclius and Caesar. So that made Marwan angry. This is the one about whom Allah revealed, الَّذِي قَالَ لِوَالِدَيْهِ أُفٍّ لَكُمْ. So this one refers to a very, very rude child who does not abide by the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when that was conveyed to Aisha, she said, Marwan is lying. By Allah, that was not revealed about him. And if I wish to name the person meant by it, I could. On the other hand, Allah's messenger placed a curse on Marwan's father, Al-Hakam bin Abi Al-As, when Marwan was still in his loins. So Marwan is an outcome of Allah's curse. And she has her side of the story, that Maran is a problem, right, and not her brother. And so although many scholars reject this, saying that this particular person refers to Marwan. And Mufassir has mentioned that this waladi is a way of writing by in the Arab literature to actually refer to the people of the same kind of character, but other individualizing them as one person. This verse depicts a group in contrast to the one mentioned earlier. It said that young adults who lead an indifferent and careless life never have the urge to assess their deeds. That means they just do whatever they want to do. They don't see, they don't care what they do in life. When their parents caution them on their ill will, they badly scold them. So when the parents caution them, talk to them, advise them, they actually scolded their parents. Parents are believers, but the child is disobedient. His first characteristic is that of being undutiful to them, addressing them with arrogance and insolence, hurting their feelings. Okay, so that is the first thing he did, was to deny them. Do you ata idanini and ohraja? Do you threaten me that I will be brought out? So this is the disbelieving young people have a lifestyle that is world-centered and desire-centered, ignoring the eternal life of the hereafter completely. They do not fulfill their obligations, even to their parents, much less anyone else. So here we see an example of a person who doesn't show any gratitude for his parents, no gratitude for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is mentioned in the previous example that this gratitude or in the parents will allow you to have greater gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When their parents try to guide them, they raise their voices and misbehave against them. وَقَدْ حَالَتِ الْقُرُونُ. They say, oh, you are threatening me with this promise, right? And they continue with what this is how they replied to their parents. They tell them off and they say, you are threatening me. Are you threatening me with this thing? And he says with that, I will be returned, that there will be resurrection. وَقَدْ حَالَتِ الْقُرُونُ مِنْ قَبْلِ. He says, and sure, and had passed generations after me, min qabli, after me. So the time of resurrection is determined by Allah, when all will be resurrected at the same time after this present world has completed its term. No one has ever said that resurrection will take place in installments, with one generation returning during the lifetime of another. No one has ever said that resurrection will take place in installments, with one generation resurrected during the lifetime of a later one. So he's saying that many has passed from many. They have not been returned. So the explanation is that Allah never said that Allah will keep on bringing back the date and then we can see the date. It is not a game, rather it is a submitting of final accounts once the journey has come to its final destination, right? So it is what Allah has promised, right? That at the end of everything, when the whole world is destroyed, then we will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll be raised up and we'll meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُمَا يَسْتَغِيثَانِ اللَّهِ. And both of them sought help from Allah. So when they see their child in that state, their child being arrogant, their child being rude to them, saying that the parents are threatening them with resurrection, because they are not doing things right. So the parents tell them, if you don't do things this way, you will be resurrected and you'll be accounted in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're not happy, right? And so then they deny resurrection also. They say if the resurrection is there, right? Years, generations have passed, right? And none of them return. So it is. وَهُمَا يَسْتَغِيثَانِ. And both of them sought the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they are pious parents, but the children are not pious. The parents are shocked by their son's words that mark him out to be a clear disbeliever. They fear that because when you reject resurrections, you are a disbeliever. Because many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the Quran, Alladina amanu, right? And they believe in the next world. Well, and those who believe and believe in the next world, and they fear the outcome of what He says to Allah and to them. Therefore, they appeal to Him and pray to Allah for help. Right? So because whatever they are people of great belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are those who do amal saleh, right? And then they have children who are behaving in that manner. Of course, they get very frightened with the children. So they appeal to Him and pray to Allah for help. Wailaka amin. Wailaka means it's a curse. Most of the time it's just a curse. Amin is an instruction. Believe. You have lost your belief, so please believe. The word wailaka in wailaka amin generally expresses curse and condemnation. However, at times it expresses concern, compassion, and affection. So here it is concern, compassion, and affection. Right? So she would the parents asked him to believe. Here too, it is used in the same sense. That means it is used as a term of concern, compassion, and affection. Not cursing the children, but having that sense of care for the children. The Quran says that some parents very compassionately try to convince their children by saying, "Curse be you. Don't be stubborn. Desist from your evil ways." So you can see this is another opinion where they hold on to wailaka as curse be you. Some parents actually do curse their children if the children disobey them. You don't try not as much as possible not to curse your children, because it's quite a serious thing for a parent to curse a child. Don't be stubborn. Desist from your evil ways. Adopt the path of faith and fear the hereafter. So this is inna wa'dallahi haq. Surely wa'dallah, promise of Allah is the truth. Is true. Right. Parents very affectionately and sympathetically try to urge their son to adopt the path of righteousness and be aware that certain, for sure, is the promise of Allah. Surely wa'dallahi, the promise of Allah is true. Right? Allah has promised that those who are good will go to heaven, those who are bad will go to hell. So that's the promise of Allah. So you should obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These words give us a clear impression of their dread and the outcome of all this. That means they are very, very sad that their children would end up denouncing resurrection. فَيَقُولُ, and then he says, مَا هَذَا, what is this? But ancients of old. So he continued to denounce the Quran by saying they are just ancients of old. This is a very improbable thing so far. So how can we believe of his own resurrection on life if all these are tales of the end, improbable? So he's saying that, this is all nonsense. I've shown you like none of the generations have passed by and none of them return. How can he believe of his own resurrection to life? He doesn't believe, because they are all stories of old, ancient tales. All these are tales of the ancient. These are people in every age who say these meaningless things, that the day of judgment is coming. So to him, right, lots of people have been saying that, and telling us judgment day is coming. We have not seen it at all. So it will not happen. On the contrary, it's never supposed to come. So it neither came nor will it ever come. The qualities enumerated in this verse concerning such individuals are as follows. Disrespect towards parents, since fire refers to impurities and connotes insult and humiliation. So is any the word fire actually bad word or that come under fire? Saying the four-letter word to parents and all those bad words. Prophet has not allowed. Such people not only disbelieve in the last day, but also mock such belief and regard it on the par with legends and superstitions. So not only he disbelieved, but he mocked that belief in the last day. Enjoining them to embrace the true faith is false into deaf ears, as they do not submit to divine will, and they are conceited with false pride and ignorance. So they are just full of pride. Compassionate parents make every attempt to rescue their stubborn children from the abyss of ignorance and the painful torment in the world to come. However, Unworthy children persist in their disbelief in their parents, find no other alternative but to leave them. So you have parents who are really, really loving, and they want their best for the children. That is the best in the next world. And they put an effort to bring the children to the path of Allah. Ulaika those alladhina they haqqa has proved true alaihim against them al-qawl the word. Fi umamin of nations, umam is nations, qad halat has passed min qablihim before them min al-jinn of jinn wal ins. Ulaika alladhina haqqa alaihimul qawlu fi umamin qad halat min qablihim min al-jinni wal ins. Innahum kanu khasirun, surely they were the losers. These are they against whom the word has proven true among nations of the jinn and men that have passed away before them, surely they are losers. So Allah says this is what it is. Ulaika alladhina, those they, as I say, ulaika alladhina haqqa alayhimul qawl, through against them the word. Fi umamin, among nations that has left, that has passed by. Qad halat. Min qablihim, before them. Min al jinni wal ins. There are jinns and mankind, right, who behaves in such a manner. Way before Nabi Muhammad, right, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So truth is gone against them. No change from alladhi to alladhina, referring to those type of people who don't believe in the afterworld. The expression statement of Allah points to the answer Allah gave to Iblis in response to his challenge, that is, he will fill hell with Iblis and all those human jinns and will follow him. So Allah says yes, he will fill hell with Iblis and all those human beings and jinn who will follow him. So these people, they will haqqa on them the word, that means they will go to hell. The question of replacement of the word fi umamin is exactly the same as fi ashabil jannah in the previous verse. So he looks at the words that are being used, right, in the ummah, that is in the among the ashabul jannah. So he knows a lot about, he's aware of those who obey Allah. So the purpose is to emphatically communicate to them that they will become the companions of those human beings and jinns who became before them at ruin thereafter by spending their lives in indifference and carelessness. Innahum kanu khasirin, surely they were the losers. Here, two types of character has been placed side by side, and the listener would answer the silent question as to which of them is better. At the time, both these types of character practically existed in the society, and it was not at all difficult for the people to know where they could find the first type of character and where the second. This is the answer to this saying of the chiefs of Quraysh. If it had been good and if been any good to believe in this book, these few youngsters and slaves would not have believed in it before they did. They arrogantly said that there is nothing much good in the Quran. If they were good, which causes these youngsters to follow, then I can. Thus, everyone could see for himself as to what was the character of the believers and what of the disbelievers. The verdict passed on this person and others like him is the punishment incurred by disbelievers. There are large numbers of those across many generations of humans and jinns. Allah's promise, which always comes true, says that these will be utterly lost. But the greater loss is there than the loss of faith in this life and the loss of faith in the next. Allah's pleasure. What greater loss is there than loss of faith in this life and loss of Allah's pleasure in life. Such people will be among their likes and their peers among the disbelievers who will lose themselves and their families on the day of resurrection. In comparing the dwellers of paradise and hell in these verses, we notice that one group attained to growth and development, the other group Former shall abide in paradise near Allah, and the latter are the dwellers of hell to abide there among faithless people. Each of them joins their lords. The former repents of their sins and faults and submit to the will of Allah, and the latter are rebels sunken in false pride. It's noted that the latter are stubborn in their deviation from the truth path and rely on their predecessors and shall be raised up in the hell with their lives. All right, we'll stop. The other losers. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن واجعله لنا إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعله لنا حجة يا رب العالمين اللهم أستودعك ما علمتني فردده إلي وقت حاجاتي إليه فلا تنسينيه يا رب العالمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ربنا انفعنا بما علمتنا ربي علمنا الذي ينفعنا ربي فقهنا وفقه أهلنا وقرابات لنا في ديننا مع أهل القطر أنثى وذكر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك